I went to school in Kapsabet, Toulon. I graduated in 2010. After my graduation in 2010, I had a B minus, and by that time, going to the university required a B minus of 59 or 60, a B star of 60, and I had a B minus of 59. So by that time, I was interested in going to the university, but I had not qualified to go to the public universities. So I started training. My cousin introduced me to training so that I can look for scholarship. I trained from 2011 to 2012, and I met a coach in the US who was recruiting scholarship athletes named Joseph Walker, and he recruited me to the University of Louisville. So by that time, Wesley was had won Boston Marathon in 2010. So Wesley was an athlete in the University of Louisville before me. So when I was recruited by this coach, he told me my past athlete was Wesley Korir, and I was inspired by the fact that I just watched Wesley Korir won Boston Marathon after studying in the US for 4 years and started professional. So for me, I went there knowing that I'm going to do my studies, but in the near future, I would like to be an athlete like Wesley Korir. So I went to the US in 2012. I met Wesley. He was still based in the US during that time. So I met Wesley. We got along with Wesley. We became friends. And I remember he gave me my first blanket that I used to in the US. So I was given by Wesley. That is what I remember Wesley for most of the time. And I graduated in the year 2016 with a bachelor's in public health. And then in the year 2017, I did a bachelor's in communication. So I was done with school by 2017 with a degree in public health and communication. And then while I was an athlete in the University of Louisville, I was an NCA champion in the steeplechase. So before I was a track athlete, and I used to run the steeplechase. So when I met the coach that we have right now by the name Ron Man, he is a marathon coach. I talked to him about wanting to run road races and marathons, and he was a good fit for me. So I trained with him for about a year. And then by that time, he was a coach for Wesley Korir, and Wesley Korir had introduced John Korir to the coach. So they had brought John Korir to the US, and when John came to run, was it Kentucky Derby? So John had came to run Kentucky Derby. I stayed with Coach John, and we trained with the same coach, and Wesley was in the US too. That is when I got to know Koske. So when Koske came back to Kenya, I stayed in the US. So I ran some races in the US, but they were short distance, half marathon. I have ran the Houston half marathon. I have ran the New York El Kitini 10K. I have run a race called Cherry Blossom 10 miler. Most of my races have been collegiate, but I can focus mainly on the professional races that I've run. While I was running collegiately, I represented Kenya at the World University Games in 2015. That was in South Korea, and I finished fifth in the steeplechase. And then before I graduated, there is something called National Championship for collegiate athletes in the US, and I won my last race. That was the steeplechase, and I ran 8:28. And then when I graduated, I didn't want to focus on the track, so that is when I shifted to the roads. And my first race, I ran the Houston half marathon. I don't remember the position, but I ran 61 for the half marathon. That was my debut. And then I ran a half marathon Indianapolis Monumental Marathon, half marathon, and I won with a time of 63 minutes. I ran the second year, and I was second with a time of 62 minutes and some seconds. and then I ran the Boston half marathon, and I was fifth. And then I ran the New York 10K, and I was third behind Matthew Kimeli. Matthew Kimeli is a teammate to the famous athlete Ronex Kipruto. And then the same year I ran Bloomsday. It is a 12K race, and I finished fourth. And then in 2019, which was my last race, I ran Shanghai International 10K in China, and I was second with a time of 27:56 minutes. 27 minutes 56 seconds. So since then I have never been able to race because of Corona, and my management was majorly based in China, and the races were closed in China. But currently I'm preparing for a race in Paris, which is on the 9th. The name of the race is called the D Paris 20K. D Paris 20K. So it's in Paris, and it's on October 9th. So my other race is on October 22nd. It is a half marathon. It is called it is in Spain.